about the way the book is, though, yeah, it's not surprising because the book is just like a ton of exposition.
Yeah, yeah.
It,
So I mean, what were they gonna do? What were they gonna do?
yeah,
But
when
that's
you
not.
go ahead, go ahead.
For that, that's not even a movie we're on today.
Oh
Hey
yeah, that's
everyone,
right.
welcome to High and Dry Podcast, the only podcast keeping alive the fandom of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Keeping that going right here. So
Gotta
thank
tell
you for
you,
joining us.
I watched Dr. Quinn a lot with my grandparents. I'm a big Dr. Quinn fan. I
And
don't know
that's
how it holds
why
up.
I first reached out to you, was to get that sort of insight on this show. So hey everyone, welcome to the show. Our podcast. We're going to talk about things pop culture, historical, a little philosophy, and what makes us so special is that we're going to do it really drunk and really high. So let's jump right on into it. James, what are you smoking this week?
Oh yeah, this week I've got a nice flower called cereal milk.
Okay. All right. All right.
Like the milk that's left behind after you have a bowl of cereal. It is concentrated euphoria. It's very good.
Interesting. I'm excited to see how that plays out with today's episode. I will be joining you. So last episode, I brought out my weekend pour. I couldn't bring out a weekend pour for that hot piece of garbage we just watched. So
It's got to be something that makes you angry. Did you get
yeah.
tequila?
No, I got old number 7, Jack Daniels.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're watching this show, I don't think I need to explain the subtle notes of Jack Daniels Old Number 7. So, it's your gas station whiskey, gets the job done through the week. And that's what we're going to do here today. So this first one goes out to, I guess, the film we're going to be talking about, which is Zack Snyder's new thing he created.
It's a movie. It
It's a
is a
movie.
movie.
He made a movie. We're going to be talking about Rebel Moon. So this one goes out to Rebel Moon, and I think this will be the first and last nice thing we have to say. So cheers. Here's to Rebel Moon.
Cheers.
Ooh, that's smooth.
Yummy.
Say what you want about Old Number 7. People, it's $30, gets the job done. I like the taste. I don't care. But
I mean, if you think about like whiskey historically as a alcohol, it wasn't like whiskey now doesn't resemble whiskey 100 years ago or whatever in the slightest.
no.
Whiskey now is way less proof than what it was in the past. In the past, it was way higher proof, and it was always watered down, like purposely.
Yeah. No, and like the one I did yesterday was I was 100 proof, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Daniels is only a 40%er, so you could get more done with it. You could drink longer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so our next shot, next toast, next hit. What's this one to? What do you think?
This one goes out to the poor souls who decided to jump in and watch Rebel Moon as soon as it dropped without reading any reviews.
Here's to us. Cheers.
Cheers. Honestly, though, I don't have only bad things to say about this movie. There are some good parts. The visuals were pretty stunning.
Yeah. No, the visuals were a little reminded me very much of the 300. Yeah, it was very, very 300 to me.
Was that Zack Snyder?
It was, wasn't it?
I think Zack Snyder did direct 300, which would make sense. I think that his style is a little static. Like he has a specific style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that being said, it's time for our third shot, third toast, third hit. I would like to say I think people are pretty clear already. We have some very strong opinions on this film. But I have nothing against Zack Snyder. I like a few of the things he's done. So this one, let's do one to him, huh?
Yeah, here's a toast to Zack Snyder. You're gonna need this one because we're
Yeah.
about to tear into you.
Yeah, Zach, you might want to line them up too. So buckle up. And I'd like to tell the people, listening right now, that we have not jumped into this discussion already. I mean, we sent a few sarcastic text messages, I guess, back and forth in between. It took me 2 days to watch this fucking thing. Uh, but yeah, no. So yeah, fresh discussion on it. So how we do this, how we're going to do this episode at least, is we're going to break it down into 3 parts. Our first part, we're going to go into our sober thoughts right now, while the herb and the alcohol are working their way into our bloodstream. Then we're going to go into our in vino veritas portion, where we're going to let the higher level of our consciousness come out, and really going to talk about this fucking piece of garbage. And then we're going to end it with a what if scenario. We're going to throw James and myself into this movie, and we're going to ask, all right, what if you were there? So going into the first thing, so James, what are your sober thoughts, man? Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder, how do you feel about it?
Okay, so like we've already stated, visuals are pretty cool. You get a lot of great spaceship and sci-fi visuals. You see some aliens, pretty interesting.
There's that squid thing that was like fucking the bad guy.
Yeah, that squid thing. I was interested in the squid thing, but they kind of had that already. They did that in Ant-Man, which also like I've got some comparisons to draw here,
Okay.
but we'll get to that. But there wasn't a lot. There wasn't. I don't know if there was anything new in this film, and I think that's the part that really affected how I feel about it. How? What do you think?
Yeah, right off the bat. I mean, you have a. I mean, I thought it was like a shot-for-shot remake of Samurai 7, or what was the Western version?
uh,
Blazing Saddles.
I,
That's it.
this Magnificent Seven. Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven. Yeah, it was just a shot for shot remake. It was a Samurai 7 film.
Yeah.
But and every it was the tropiest. It was the tropiest film I have seen in forever.
It was the
I
hero's
was.
journey, right?
It wasn't even. Yeah,
It,
sort of,
like it was
kinda.
someone wrote a list, like a grocery list about the
Oh,
hero's journey, and then that was the movie.
well, I got 5 minutes into it and I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted because we've been through these intros 200 times. There
Yeah.
was an episode of Mandalorian that covered the whole movie. I don't
Yeah.
know if you ever wound up watching the series, but
I watched like 4 episodes, and I
they were
was
all the
like,
same. They were all the
yeah,
same.
I was like, I've seen this episode 3 times already, and then I
Mm-mm.
couldn't watch anymore.
Well, oh yeah, no, you could watch the first episode of the season, the last episode of the season, and everything in between is interchangeable. But we're not
That's
here to
another
bash.
great, but it brings up a great point. That's exactly what this movie does too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, especially because they had to do pit stops to find their 7 heroes, one of whom, of
Any of
course, is
those,
going to betray them.
any of those could have been moved around. You could have
Yeah,
moved any of those scenes around, and it wouldn't have mattered.
it wouldn't have done a damn thing. Wouldn't have done a damn thing. And also, I felt that at least the first half of the movie, that they're so normally in a story, you're supposed to have an event, characters react to the event, characters make a decision, and then follow the new decision. They
Right.
instead, Zack Snyder decided that he is going to characters see sexual assault, respond to the sexual assault, and then let the world happen because they responded to the sexual assault. And that led them through like 3 fucking planets.
I don't know. I think that it was a really strange impetus for action uh, on the part of someone who had seen already horrors, right? I assume that
Yeah.
was her tipping point, but man, they really just went. It was like doing fetch quests in a video game. Video games. I think this is a good analogy. is that video games can be like these amazing stories that engage you and immerse you in a world and activities, or they can also be like a series of fetch quests that are not immersive or engaging at all, where you're just like, we got to go do this thing. I'm going to go do this thing. Check, check, check box, check box. Check my menu. Oh,
Yeah.
I did all the things. Okay, I guess that was the end of the quest. That could have been any part of the quest. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And and some people say, what are you talking about? This does everything you ask for in a hero's journey. And it's like, well, it's the things that differentiate it from the checklist that make a movie good or great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was after I finished it, I was reading some of the reviews just to see where we compared, and I think it was like 22 on Rotten Tomatoes or some such.
That sounds
Uh,
about right.
yeah, but the Zack Snyder, he developed sort of that following during the DC whole thing, and it
Yeah.
looks like his boys are out in force, just sort of arguing for the film. And I saw a lot of it was so powerful, and like to be powerful, in my opinion, you have to have something to say.
Yeah. What is this saying? Rape is bad. Got it.
Yeah, we were already clear on that. That's
Cartoonish villainy is unacceptable. You can quote me on that.
they, they made a vicious Snidely Whiplash who fucks a squid.
Jesus
But
Christ.
yeah,
This fucking movie.
in my opinion, to be powerful, you have to have something to say. And I don't know what he was trying to say there. And my little last sober thought on it, in my opinion, was what the fuck was with just the fire hose of exposition, like. the
the old adage for writers: tell, don't show.
Yeah, it was just non-stop. And
Why would you use the visual medium when you could just have a character sit and look right into the camera and tell you everything they're thinking and feeling and why?
oh my god, and you could see it in her face when she was getting ready to share her history with us, because that one dude who just he just has such a punchable face.
Yeah, he didn't deserve to be on this trip. He was like just dragged along for no reason. And then they're like, "You love him, don't you? You love him, don't you? What, do they love each other? When did that happen?"
I missed it. She was talking.
Is it because they had a conversation? It's like, wow, nobody in this world fucking talks. I guess we're the only two
Yeah.
people.
Well, yeah, in this universe, apparently the only way people get together is sexual assault. So him talking to her was just, and she, it's obviously love was going to happen. But yeah, it was funny. I could say he's just got this really fucking punchable face, and you know
Yeah.
exactly who I was talking about. He was like that in Game of Thrones too. He was Khaleesi's man concubine
Was he?
after the actor got swapped out.
Oh, that's right. He
Yes.
was. I was like, where is this guy from? All I
Dude,
know is that I hate him.
exactly. The first dude who played that character, Khaleesi's male concubine, he played it as this super egotistical douchebag.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
But
how it which I really liked.
and he did it,
It like
yeah, he did it
created
great.
tension.
He did it great. And then he just kind of laid back. The dude who took over and who is following our lead character through Rebel Moon, he just like his face is constantly mansplaining. Something
Yeah.
about like he's just got this way about him. And I don't know your name, man, and I know you're listening right now.
His name is Michiel Huisman, Huisman. I assume it's Heisman, but I don't know.
Well, it's like, dude, I know
Huisman.
there's no way he was trying to look like that through this, but like he's just got this
Yeah,
attitude
man,
that,
you really do just want to punch him. He
well,
he can't. I don't know.
And I feel bad. Like, so we we were looking at some movies that we want to do for the
Oh, dude, he was in
yeah.
the invitation, and I wanted to punch him the entire
Oh
time. I
my
just looked up.
god, you
He's in the
did!
invitation.
He's the douchebag new guy. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
you want to
And
punch him
you
the
wanted to
entire
punch him
time.
so bad. All right, Michael, I apologize. I just realized that the reason we want to punch you is because in the invitation, you did such a good job of
Yeah,
being
of
that
being.
guy that it's now
Yeah,
ingrained in me.
I think that's what it is. I think we've typecast him in our head that we want to punch him.
Yeah, it's because the invitation. Invitation, though, by the way, great movie.
Great movie. Don't ask
Great
Brendan Nagy
movie.
if it's good movie. I talked through the entire thing.
But awesome movie. Awesome movie. If you haven't seen The Invitation, go check that out. We're talking about Rebel Moon today, but if you can, go see The Invitation.
Sorry, hold on. That's the invitation from 2015.
Yes. Yeah, featuring the douchebag from Rebel Moon. If you've seen Rebel
Yeah.
Moon, you know who I'm talking about. And it wasn't even Sons of Anarchy who betrayed them. We're talking about the dude who's like the douchebag.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a good point. So now it's time then, for me at least. I need another drink.
I gotta talk about this guy more. I gotta talk about this guy more. So his character is just he doesn't do anything the whole story. The only thing we know about him is that he's gonna sell to the highest bidder. Whatever excess
Yeah,
they
oh,
have,
that's
he's gonna
all
sell the
they
highest bidder.
say.
That's all we know about him is that he does commerce and he's willing to do any kind of
And he does
commerce with
anything.
anyone.
Yeah, and he kind
He's
of
willing to do any
well,
and in the end she's like, I love you, the embodiment of the free market with no restrictions.
well. So for those of you who are trying to figure out where the hell we're at in the show, we have entered into our second portion of this, where we are accessing our drunken minds to reach a higher understanding and to really like massage the meaning out of the fibers of Rebel Moon's muscles. So here's to that douchebag from the invitation, though. I'm going to have one more to really get
Cheers.
there. Cheers.
I'm gonna supplement with some green crack uh, concentrate.
I'm just going to take an extra big gulp of Jack Daniels. Ah.
All
So,
right.
yeah. So now,
Doesn't
so.
do anything.
Oh my, he did nothing. He did
You
nothing.
love him. You love him, don't you?
Dude, and the father, who was turning into sort of an interesting character, got his ass beat to death by a cane
Yeah, I was like, they
for
killed
him.
the second most interesting character in the movie.
Yeah,
They killed very early. The single most interesting character in the movie was the fucking robot who they abandoned in the
yeah.
25 minutes. I was like, that character's the best fucking character in this movie. What's wrong with you?
No, and they but he
And then they came back at the. I don't want to ruin the spoiler alert. At the end of the movie, they come back and this character's clearly been on a journey that I would have liked to have seen instead of this movie. The
this whole
robot
movie.
had the
Yeah.
robot had like antlers on his head, and you're like, where the fuck did he get antlers? What animal are they from? How is he now like making decisions about his appearance and stuff related to
Yeah.
humanity? A much better movie that I would rather have
That
seen instead of this piece of garbage.
a much better movie ran out the barn door after after stopping a rape and just not there. It's just out in the woods, having a much better movie. What would have been amazing? What would have been absolutely amazing? At least if they kind of tipped the hat to that concept, if they make it back to the planet, they've gathered their heroes, they survived the betrayal. Obviously, 7 people would be hopelessly outnumbered against the space Nazis. They're getting just friggin' massacred. And then here comes Antler Robot bounding back through the field.
That would be unexpected.
That would be the first thing in that movie that was.
Yeah, you can't have anything in this movie that's unexpected. It's a rule.
Well, all right. So for the mind opening portion of it, can you bring anything to the table? Can we think of anything about this? Is there any praise that we could sing for this movie? You know, because we're
They they
like,
they got Jimon Hansu on the cast. That was good. He's always great in every movie. He got to say like 3 lines of dialogue, which I feel like you could have got more. He was around.
yeah, yeah.
They had him, and like as soon as I saw him, I was like, yeah. And then he was gone.
Well, and that I would say even so, the bad guy. I've seen him in something before. He's always a bad guy. He has those super defined cheekbones that.
He has Nazi face. He has
Yeah,
perpetual Nazi face.
yeah, he's got Nazi face. He's a great bad guy, and I feel he was definitely a great choice.
He's bad guy in Deadpool.
That's it. Yes, yes, he's got Nazi, and even I think Deadpool references something like that. When yeah, that's where I know him from. He was the bad guy in the first Deadpool. Wow, he hasn't aged a day.
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for him. So yeah, there you go. He was all right. That he didn't write the script. It wasn't his fault. Unless we find out like behind like they released the Snyder cut of the Snyder movie, and
Yeah.
it comes out in like the behind where they're talking about it, and it's all in black and white. And he's like, I requested that squid scene. I they didn't want to do it. They thought it would make an off-putting movie even more off-putting. But I insisted.
I think the perpetual Nazi face, and I think he's a good actor. I think I've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good villain.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a little heavy-handed with the like. Okay, so I guess I give it to Zack Snyder for this. Even though I'd say it's very heavy-handed, maybe the audience he's pointing toward needs a heavy-handed approach. But they were very directly Nazis in their military uniforms.
Oh
So
yeah.
he was very much like, look it, this guy's a Nazi. And then when they went to show him, he looked like when he wasn't in his armor, he looked like Richard Spencer. And you know, it's incredible. He who is a white nationalist. He's famous for getting punched in the face and having that memeified and remixed. My
Yeah.
favorite one is when the sonic rings come out when he's hit. Amazing.
Mwah, chef's kiss.
But he's a neo-Nazi, and they made him look like a skinny black tie, white collar looking guy with that high cut haircut
They
because
gave him a
yeah,
black tie.
yes, they gave him a skinny
Dude,
black tie.
dude, that was wild when I first saw it. Like he had the jacket off, and
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, he's wearing a what the hell? It was
yeah. And then the big fight, he's fighting in a collar and a tie, which is very funny.
it was so bizarre.
It was wildly out of place.
Yeah, I'm being taken on an adventure through space, and I can't stop looking at this tie.
Like this, he got transported from an office somewhere and then immediately fell into the role of Nazi because he was a modern day white
Yeah,
nationalist.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I found that very funny. While heavy handed, it draws a direct parallel between Nazis and the alt right, which I'm grateful for. Thank
Yes,
you, Zack
yes,
Snyder,
yes,
for doing that.
yes.
I
Nazis are
don't think
bad.
it. I think the art. Well, he did something that is actually fairly controversial, which is drawing a direct line between Nazis and the alt right. It's still very controversial to do that in mainstream America, and so he did it, and I'm very grateful. It's
Yes.
very heavy handed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
very artistic,
Hmm.
but he did it.
Well, I mean, I've met a lot of people. I mean, out in Vegas, especially, I met a
Mhm.
lot of people there where education isn't the greatest thing in the world. And there's been more than once where I've had to explain the events of World War II.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he was trying to do. Maybe, because Zack Snyder's on the other side of this microphone right now, just listening on his drive,
Mhm.
to whatever he does on Christmas, and
Yeah.
tears welling in his eyes, just trying to he's just screaming back into the radio, saying that I did it for people who don't know what Nazis are. They're bad.
Maybe he did this whole movie for people who've never seen a movie before, or have like who've never got seen like an action adventure or a Star Wars or anything like that. We've never seen that before. It's just like, oh, all these interesting characters, because I think this is really important. What he did was he made a bunch of short clips. He made a bunch of short clips of characters introducing themselves and having their backstory explained to us, and he just mushed all those in there in a different in an order. He like clipped them up and put them in a certain order, and all it is just it's like a primer. It's like a portfolio full of superheroes is what he did,
Yeah,
and he didn't make it. The problem is he didn't make it interesting in between.
not at all.
It's really important that your movie also has to be interesting and not just an info dump. But I don't know if he just did this for people who've never seen movies before, because
Which,
it
if
draws
that's the
really limited
case,
crowds. Yeah.
yeah, if that's the case, put a disclaimer out. God damn, you know, let me
This is
know.
I want this to be the first time you've ever been introduced to anything sci-fi or anything action adventure. I want you to have only watched like dramas and like the Jackass movies, and that's it. And then you come to this, and you're like, "Whoa, this is the greatest movie ever! They got a fucking eagle, bird, horse thing. What the fuck is going on?"
Well, and so sadly for me, it was originally pitched to me as a Star Wars alternative,
Yeah,
because I'm one of the many who feel like there was we've brought him up twice now, but there was a meme. I forget the movie, but it was Andrew Garfield, where another character in the film asks him, like, do you hate it? And he's like, yeah, no, it's complicated. I don't, and I've become one of those people where I love what Star Wars was, but I hate, loathe what they've done to it. And so it was billed to me as a haven for us, where we can
yeah.
go enjoy a world like that again without Disney's dick prints all over it.
I think all he did when he was like, Disney's not doing the right thing was like, we need blood. You gotta put there's no
Uh,
blood in it. As long as there's blood in it, that makes it that's what everyone's missing, right? Just put some blood.
yeah, man. There's no blood when your limbs are cauterized by a laser sword, dude. It's like,
Also, what took that woman so long to turn on her laser swords? Who was she waiting for?
I
She
have no
as soon as
idea.
when she turned on the laser swords, I was like, that was an option the whole
The
time.
whole time, what were you doing? She was just making sure that her hat was perfectly askew. She
She
had a scarecrow look she was going for, and god damn it.
It's only fair if I let my enemy kick the shit out of me for a little while before I kill them.
The brutal shit out of me too. Like, holy crap. Yeah,
She, I was like, and that was a note I made was who was this for? Does she know there's a camera following her? Does she know that we're observing? And she's like, wait till they see me turn on my fucking laser swords. I was actually fighting with my hand behind my back. And then
why
she's
would
like,
you
and then
do
she's like,
that?
and then she's like, this is serious. This is not cool. This is not. Yeah, after he walks away, he's like, good job killing her. She's like, this is not celebratory. And I was fighting with one hand behind my back. And also, fuck you for thinking this was supposed to be cool.
You're like, well, why were you making a spectacle out of it? I
God. And it's that shit over and over in this movie.
Oh, constantly, like every character except Grain Counter, who just wanted to let you know he believed in the free market. They were all just waiting for their moment to be like, yo, check this shit out. I don't want to, I don't want to say nothing, but I'm kind of a badass. And and every time it happened, I had to turn it off. And that's why the film took me 2 days to finish. A 2 hour film took me 48 hours to get through. And
oh shit! I watched it straight through. It felt about that long.
oh my god,
Jimon Hansu, this I think I texted you this one. So Jimon Hansu's character is at a coliseum. He's like a space general who's like taken over a coliseum or some shit. They're like, he's at the coliseum. Anyone who gets close to him, you gotta watch out what happens. And so they like build him up. And then they go to get him and they just kind of like wash him off and shave him. And they're like, you want to come with us? And then he says, yes. And it's like, how do you waste a space coliseum? What the fuck? That's Chekhov's gun 101 is to be like, if you introduce anything cool, you should do something with it. It's like, we got a space coliseum, but over here, you gotta look over. We'll go back on the ship and talk and tell you about how cool the coliseum is.
Over here, the ex-Nazi girl who is hiding with the farmers, she has some more shit to say.
What my god. Fuck?
Like,
they passed by like 4 good movies on their way to the end of this shitty one.
I understand that, today everyone, they just consume TikTok and YouTube. Everything's 30 seconds long, everything like that. That's fine. I get it. The world's changing. But in this new world, if you decide to make a movie, there's certain rules, all right? Chekhov's gun. Show, don't tell. Basic shit. I make way less than Zack Snyder. Way fucking less. I make way less than the writers of this movie. And there's basic rules that they didn't know. And that drives me crazy. That drives me fucking insane.
I loved, and to your point when you're saying this basic shit that drives you insane. The last scene where they all get captured and the Nazi guy walks around and like points at them and says, here are the exploits you did. Here's your name and the exploits you did. Here's your name. And he just walks around.
I was like, please stop. They already did this themselves. That's all it was. That's all it was. The whole movie was these assholes talking about how cool they were. You don't need to do it too.
If they'd done that like 10 minutes into this movie and then like expounded on these people like the rest of the movie, that would have been a ton better. If they just went, I think that would be hilarious if they turn it. Okay, so I actually had this thought and I texted you this. Is like, okay, so I want to talk really quick about postmodernism as a concept, which I don't know if our listeners are familiar with postmodernism in art, but what it is that postmodernism has you assume things based on the tenets of our modern era and modernist media. So it's like, so you say someone goes on a quest, they see something happen and they're affected by it because of something in their past. That is a modern trope, right? Postmodernism would say, okay, we're going to take that thing and reference it in a way that enhances your experience as a viewer. And what kind of happens sometimes when people are postmodernists is that they forget the second part and they just reference the thing that you've already seen and don't enhance your experience at all.
Yeah,
that was this entire fucking movie.
That was this movie.
I had a thought where it's like, maybe this movie, when he was pointing at them and telling them everything they've done, I thought for a second maybe this is a postmodern masterpiece that is like look at you viewer who knows everything.
Dropped the microphone. I was getting way too excited there. All right, we're back.
That'll definitely have to be edited.
Yeah, right, I'll fix that.
All right, we'll hop back in a second. 3, 2. So I had this thought, and I thought that this movie was flipping just the entire hero's journey on its head, like right at the end. I didn't understand because I was so confused by everything I'd
Yeah.
seen. I thought that what it was doing was making a comment about us, the viewer, and it was just like, hey, you know all of these things. Nothing is surprising. I just sat for 2 hours and told you all of these things I'm telling you already that could be done literally just in a checklist that we're going on. And you sat and watched it and you're happy about it. And but then I realized that that does not enhance your viewing in any way. There's He did not do anything. If it had been a comedy, if this movie had taken itself less seriously, it would have
Yes.
been so much better.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, and I think there it is. And with that being said, it is definitely time to move on to our third segment of this show, where we're gonna go into the what ifs of Rebel Moon. All right, this is Rebel Moon What If Season 1. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna insert ourselves and or drugs and alcohol into this movie, and we're going to discuss how it would have gone down just a little bit differently. So James, you've been so you just watched like the father get his ass fucking handed to him for no reason. Like he was an interesting character, and you're wondering why.
Ugh, the
Uh,
only interesting character.
just died, and what drove me. Oh, I was so pissed because I was looking at him, and he's got that huge fucking beard. He's bald, and like, but his eyes—they're like so familiar to me, and I realized that he was the main character of the Vampire Show by Guillermo del Toro. It was fucking hell. It's on Hulu right now. Oh god damn it! Gotta look it up.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Ant-Man. He was the villain in the first Ant-Man.
Yeah,
He's been in tons of shit though.
the
I like him as an
strain, the
actor.
strain. He was the main character of
Oh,
the strain. And that's where like he struck me. Was from the strain. And so I'm like, I'm really eager to see what he's gonna do next. And I figured that douchebag, punchable douchebag, was just some side dude from fucking Game of Thrones. He's about to die. Cool. And I'm gonna get to follow this father guy as he lays down some space wisdom. And then
yeah.
so
Nope.
it didn't.
No.
It,
The right path is commerce because you get to both deal with and betray Nazis when you do that.
like it I was so angry at that part, because I was excited to see what this guy could do in in a epic sci-fi fantasy. So that really broke my heart. But anyway,
We're gonna
anyway,
kill anything interesting. I want you to know at the beginning of this movie, anything interesting is gonna die.
nah, that's a wrap. It's not happening. It's not happening. Don't even worry about it. Well, so
When
so James, you've
okay,
been inserted. You've been inserted. What changes immediately in this film? How does it go
I
down
run
differently?
I run off with the robot. We have a great movie together. We like learn how to survive and like we learn about how nature works because he's a robot, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
he has
yeah.
to become like in touch. He's gonna call this new community home. You can tell at the end that he's grown significantly as a character. He now calls this
And we just
community home.
missed it.
He now adorns himself with a trophy, some kind of trophy from a wild animal. So he's gone on a journey of personal like reflection and growth as an sentient AI. And I'm gonna be along for that journey. That journey is gonna be fucking dope. And then instead of this movie, I would I would have a great time. Uh, and also, conversely, I would just turn this fucking movie into a limited series where we took an episode for each of these people so you could explain how
Yeah.
cool they are instead of just telling me.
Or maybe just fucking flesh out your character as events unfold, allow them to react in a way that they naturally and truly would. And from
I would
there,
I would have walked into the fucking Coliseum at least. I would have walked. I would have set one foot in the fucking Coliseum that we flew across the goddamn galaxy to look at, a famous Coliseum. And we're just like, I just look at, oh, this guy's right outside the front. I don't even have to go inside. This is great. Bye.
Yeah, like guys, I bought the ticket. I feel like I should see the show.
Oh my god! And it was another thing that makes it seem like a postmodern masterpiece is that Jimon Hansu is in Gladiator. He's like in
Yeah.
a much better movie about gladiators, and he's sitting outside a gladiator coliseum. And I don't know if the movie wants me to be like, do you remember Gladiator? And how it had a disgraced general in it, and he was a badass. Well, you should think of our guy like that guy, and we don't have to film anything. You can just assume it in your mind, and you
Remember
create
also-
you create that story in your head, and I don't have to do anything, and then you care.
Well, so for me in the what if, I had the hardest time with this because you would insert me and like, you know, I don't have laser swords or some shit. So what would wind up happening?
You'd be commerce guy.
No, even worse. So, you know, I'd be there. The only thing of any note I brought is my bourbon collection, and that's my weapon. And so I'm just wandering around half, you know, blitz the whole time. And so she would start her exposition, and I think we're like, oh, we're drunk oversharing right now. And so you would see her story acting out, like the way she was talking about it. And the princess ran off and was in the woods. And then all of a sudden there'd be a record skip. And be like, yo, you think that's fucking bad. You think that's bad. And I'm just drinking my bourbon, going like, yo, my house foreclosed. You know, you have no fucking idea how bad it gets out there. And I would just be oversharing back at her, because I thought we're all drunk and we're just oversharing. And so that's how the movie would change with me. And the second thing that would happen, so I'd be cutting off all their stories just to overshare myself. And then as things like, oh, dude, you have no fucking idea. I was with this one girl once.
Like when he's telling a story about some massive battle that changed the fate of the universe, and he doesn't get to say anything because you have a boring story to tell.
I just cut him off.
This movie, it would fit right in with this movie.
I'm like, dude, one time, man, it was the worst winter ever. I couldn't make any fucking money. The bank took my car. And then during the big fight, the camera would keep recognizing that I could not take my attention off of the Nazi's tie. You know, I'd have my glass out, and I'm just like, what? You know, I'm just watching the tie through the fight. Like, I just saw a hippogriff. What are you wearing?
Dude, that hippogriff scene fucking had me so furious. I was like, they literally took two scenes from Harry Potter where he meets a hippogriff and where he rides a dragon, and they just took those scenes and put them directly into this movie. It was wild.
So after, I'm just like, so they get caught because I'm not helping. I'm fixating on his tie. And he's walking down the line, pointing at them, saying, "You did this, this, this." And I'm like, "Dude, that's like fucking nothing, man. You know, you got no idea what I've been through." And I would just start
when you're strapped to the death chair.
Yeah, I'm strapped to the death chair. I've just been fucking wasted this whole movie, going, "Dude, that's nothing, man. All right."
You cut him off when he's explaining. God, that would be a better movie. That would be a better movie.
I'm like, dude, I was at Ozfest once, right? And Static X came out, fucking blew my mind. and that would be, and I'd get killed at that point right there. He'd stab me in the stomach just so he
Oh
could
man,
finish his exposition. And yeah, that I think that's my what if at least would be right.
Christ, you'd uh, you'd interrupt. So they did. I think what they were doing, which is this is not how you make a movie. I wish that was what I could convey with all of this. Is this is not how you should make a movie. What they were doing is plant and payoff, but they had no payoff. And
Mm,
their planting wasn't even that good. Their planting was the most blatant, least artistic. It's like when you're like, hey, we need to get some new bowls for a house. And it's like you pick up like gray, gray clay, like no art, it's completely devoid of any semblance that humanity was involved in any step. It's like the
yeah,
most functional bowl.
yeah.
Like that's what this is.
Well, it
And
was like if Chatbot wrote a sci-fi fantasy.
yeah, and it was just like, and then they go to the planet and they meet this man, and this man is like this, and then they leave that place and they go to meet this woman, and it's
Yeah,
and they tried to plant things, but the way they planted them was they just told you, we are planting this. This is a piece of information that you should understand. This is the next piece of information, and and there was no payoff. And I assume they want us to think, oh, this is part one. I can't wait to see the payoff in part two. And it's like, no, people are
don't
not
care.
like that.
I don't give a
People are
shit.
not. I I'm not like, oh, I can't wait 2 years to see if they actually do anything with Jima Nansu in this series.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
care
give
now.
a
Now I
I don't
don't
give a
care.
fuck.
Now I couldn't give a shit.
No, I hope they all die.
It would have been amazing if one of them died just to do anything unexpected. In that hippogriff scene, there's like a scene where he like gets knocked off and then he has to like run and leap off the cliff and grab onto the hippogriff, and there was no doubt in anyone's mind that he was
No,
going to succeed. I would have loved for him to have
it's
fallen
just plug.
and he like his head gets fucking cracked on a rock, and then everyone's just like, "Oh my god!" And then they have to be slaves,
Dude,
and then that
I
would be a better movie.
I would be if that happened, edge of my seat, edge of my
Right?
fucking seat. I would be like, "Oh my god, you were playing me. You were playing me this whole time. You
And then
genius. You
the
fucking
entire
genius."
the whole tone changes now that they're fucking slaves on this outpost. It turns into like a horror movie where they're like the fucking Texas Chainsaw Family and they've got them chained up.
Dude,
That would be cool.
that would be a movie. But I would have to explain to like people like, yeah, okay, trust me. Make the beginning's dumb. The beginning's dumb, but it's all for a reason. I'd be that crazy. I'd be that crazy guy. Yeah. Oh, oh my god. Well, any final what ifs?
Final what ifs. Let me look through my notes here to see what else I would change. Let's see. Oh, also that scene where Blood Axe shoves the sheared metal through the windshield is straight out of Avatar. Uh, the shot, the angle, everything totally just taken straight from Avatar. I let's see. My last note is my last note that I wrote was just I hate this movie. I guess that's all I'm saying is I hate this movie.
I hate this movie, and that is a perfect place. So there you have it, folks. Thank you for joining our Rebel Moon Bash podcast. I
Such a bad
we
movie.
I just gotta let you listeners know that we picked several movies. We went in blind. We were really excited to see Rebel Moon. We want to see positive shit, but there was nothing positive to say about this piece of shit.
Yeah, we were like, you were like, oh man, I heard that he got some like he got around the Star Wars pad and he was able to make it different enough, and this is like exactly what we wanted. That's the mindset we went into this
That's
movie with.
how I pitched it. That is how I pitched it.
Yo, the
And
first scene, another good thing to say, that first scene where she's like on the planet working the field with the horse and they're not saying anything, right? She's using
yeah,
the plow and she's pulling the rock out of the path. I was like, oh damn, this movie's already good. Like like this is like a good shot, like giving us some information about the character, and that was the last time that happened.
The last time you learned about her through her actions.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, the last time you learned about her through her actions. The only other things that you learn through her actions is that she is willing to walk away from a currently occurring sexual assault for about 360 seconds. If she leaves before then, it's all good. Do what you got to do. But after that, though, she will kill everybody. That's all we learned about her.
There was also in that scene, there were people just sitting at tables in the background. Did you notice that? Did you notice that there were just people just sitting
chilling.
around?
They're just chilling
while this gunfight was happening. I don't know. It happened at the bar scene too.
Well, I think the most bizarre thing was the rape has been stopped. Everyone's dead. And the entire assembled town marches in the next second. Like they were just wait, like they have a gathering place to wait for potential rapes to end. And then they walk in. Like, what the hell was that?
They heard a gun battle and then we're like, oh, the gunfire has stopped as far as we know. Let's all walk toward it now to see what happened.
Like when the whole town marched in, I thought this thing was directed by Mel Brooks. That was
Mel Brooks would have made this very fun. He made